Hello guys, welcome back to Django Hub. Today we are going to cover the remaining components of the Bootstrap. This is the third session of Bootstrap with Django. I already made the two sessions related to how to use Bootstrap with Django. If you missed those sessions, I already shared the links of those videos in the description of this video. So before going to the session, kindly have a look into my previous sessions. Alright, let's open our PyCharm and check where we are. Okay, let's run our dev server, imanage.py, run server. Great. Alright, this is what we discussed in my previous session regarding the container and container fluid, how to use the call units, how to make different rows and different columns. So our previous session is related to grid. So now we know how to make grid and how to use the grid and how to divide the page into different blocks. Alright, so let's open the Bootstrap. Let's open the Bootstrap official document. This is the official website and click on documentation. Have you observed the introduction part we already finished? In this introduction it will tell you how to integrate or how to download the physical files or how to use the CDN. These all things we already covered in our previous sessions. So what is pending? The layout part. Layout part we already covered in my previous session. There only we discussed about grid, how to create a grid, how to divide the blocks into different columns, how they are responsive. These all things I already explained. So what we are going to cover today? Let's work from the content. Alright, let's start working from the content. Till content we already covered all the above components in our previous sessions. So click on the content. Alright, inside the content we have typography which we have to cover. That is, click on typography. Alright, then open our PyCharm IDE. And before that we should know what is typography. Typography is a feature of Bootstrap for styling and formatting the text content. It is used to create customized headings, inline subheadings, lists, paragraphs, aligning, adding more design-oriented font styles and much more. So let's together we will do these all typography elements. It's very easy. Alright, let's open our page. Okay, we created the first page to work on the grid. Let's create one more page to make it clear. Right click on your templates and create a HTML file called typography. Alright, as we are working with Bootstrap, so we have to copy the header part because this is where we mentioned our style sheets and script files. So I'm copying the header part here, just pasting here, and change your home, the title to typography. Alright, so before we are starting, as we know in our previous session we already discussed that we should start with div class is equal to container or container fluid. Container means the content will display on the center of the page. The left and right margins will be maintained automatically irrespective of the screen size. So inside the container we can keep a header, or we can mention, let's start with div class is equal to row, and then immediately after row we should use class is equal to column. Alright, and always maintain the border so that for a better appealing. Now navigate to your typography. As we know, in HTML tags we will use h1 to h6 for different headings. So let's copy or click on this copy link and then go and paste here. Ctrl Alt L, and then after we create here the template, we have to create a view to render this template. So go to the views, let's create a different view for typography template. Typography, request, and then return, render, request, comma, what is the template name? Template name is typography, rename. Let's copy this and paste it here. So the view was ready, and this view is telling to render this template which we created called typography. Alright, so let's add this view to our URLs. So inside our library app we have urls.py. Open this file and let's add a path. For instance, I want to open this typo whenever the path come in this way, typography, and views.typography. This is the view name which we created. This typography is the view name, and name is equal to, I am mentioning same name as typography. Alright, so now the template is ready. To render this template we created a view, so the view is ready, and this view will be called through the URL also ready. Alright, so let's go back to our web page. This is the home, and we created a path in urls.py is typography. So copy this one and paste it here. Alright, have you seen now the title of the page came typography, and the headings which we displayed on the template typography is displayed here. So this is the different headings from H1 to H6, but these headings we use as direct HTML tags, but these styles or these sizes we can achieve with Bootstrap toolkit as well. So how we can do that? Open a different div, class is equal to call, and mention the border as usual, and then go back to our Bootstrap documentation. Have you seen this is the HTML tags we use to achieve these font sizes, but even in Bootstrap also we can achieve this inside the p tags or any type of tags. So let's copy this one and paste here and refresh our typography page and check. Have you seen now? It doesn't feel any difference, right? These are rendered by general HTML tags, and these are rendered with p tag when we use the reference of Bootstrap different classes H1, H2, H3, H4. So what is H1 here? It is referring to H1 header style of HTML, and whenever H2 it is referring to header style of HTML, that is H2. Similarly, the H3, H4, H5, H6, these all are referring to the header styles of HTML. That means that the font sizes of these tags will be maintained through Bootstrap. Alright, so now we know how to use the headings and headers. Alright, let's go down and do something regarding customizing headings. So before going next, let's make here one title for this as headings. Alright, this container we make it for headings. This is just for simplify to make you understand. We can mention a comment. Alright, let's work something on customizing headings. So how we can make such a heading? Have you seen till here it's a different style, and till from center to end it is a different style. So we can achieve that. So let's make a different container. Say that we can rename this as customize heading, and then we can define this for a different container. And then class is equal to row. Inside the row, div class is equal to column. Always remember the class row and column, they all should come together. Okay, inside the column I'm going to assign the border. Border is a class, it will maintain the borders for this column, and here just copy this one and check how it is going to display this. So I have copied this code and let's paste here. Ctrl Alt L and then go back to our typography and refresh. Have you seen fancy heading with faded secondary text? Have you seen? Are you able to see this text, right? So that is how we can customize the heading by using text muted class. This text muted class will provide the feature called this type of faded color. So H3, this is the standard heading, and we define a small tag with class text muted. This is Bootstrap class, and due to this the content here displayed in a gray color with a different style. Alright, so now we have done the customized heading. Great, let's make break here so that we'll not get confused. Alright, and for the content inside here, let's make heading for this block. Say that this is customized heading. Alright, so this is customized heading. Well, next, display headings. Though we have H1 to H6 Bootstrap classes and also HTML tags, but there are some cases you want to display much larger. Alright, so instead of using font sizes to 40px or 80px, 100px, that is very difficult for us. So that we can use the standard classes, that is display 1, display 2, display 3 and display 4. These are the standard classes from the Bootstrap. So let's copy this code and go back here and create a new block for this again. So I'm creating a new block called display headings, and inside this block I'm going to give a container. Div class is equal to container, and inside this div class is equal to row, and as usual here div class is equal to column. And here I'm going to paste this code, Ctrl Alt L, to maintain the indent and format the code automatically. And here let's mention here heading as well. Heading for this block. The heading for this block is display headings. Copy and let's make display headings. Alright, this is the block. So let's go back and refresh. Have you seen now? It's displaying the headings. So this is one of the section in the display headings of typography. So whenever you want a large display or large headings, we can use this class, this Bootstrap class, display 1, display 2, and display 3 and display 4. Alright. Next, lead. Make a paragraph stand out by adding. So let's look into this as well. As usual, let's make a break here and make it all down. Create paragraph lead. As usual, we will create a div class is equal to container and div class is equal to row, and then div class is equal to column. Great. So let's copy this code, the lead, let's copy it and paste it here. Great. And make heading here for this section. So I want to make the heading as paragraph lead. Now go back to the template and refresh it. Have you seen? And here for this section we forgot to keep the border for this column. So let's keep the border for this. There's display headings here, column, the border, and as usual here also let's make a border so that we can understand better in the template view. Have you seen? This section is the whole one we already completed. This is display headings. In the next session we discussed paragraph lead. Have you seen? I know it doesn't make much difference to you. So what the lead makes the difference you want to know, right? Oh, we can check that one. Let's create a different column inside this one. The same row class is equal to column, and I'm using the border, and here take the same code and paste it here, but remove this lead. If you want to know the difference of general HTML elements and Bootstrap lead class, so that you can remove this class, and let's refresh and check the differences. Have you seen what is the difference between these two? The font colors, the font size and weight has been changed, right? Great. So this one is rendered with general p tag, that is HTML tag. We haven't used any class here. And this one is rendered with Bootstrap tools, that is Bootstrap class we used lead. Alright, for paragraphs we can use such kind of style. Alright, then what's next? The next concept is inline text elements. It's very easy. Let's create a new block for this one. Collapse this paragraph lead and create a comment. I recommend always to use the comments to understand your code. And let's, as usual, create class container, and inside the container let's create a class row, and then div class is equal to column and border. Border we are using for the better appearance. And have you seen here that we have different styles? In first we use the highlighting the text, because some of the portion inside your paragraph you can highlight by using mark tag. Have you seen here we use the mark tag. And then the strike through over the text, they use the deleted tag. We can use to achieve this kind of style. And the third one also almost similar to the top one, that is strike, that is S tag, you can use combination with P. And the next is INS tag. Have you seen there is underline under the paragraph, that you can achieve by INS. And also U tag will be there, that is also similar to this one, but there is small difference between INS and U. In INS it will maintain some space in between the characters, and also for the words as well. And the small tag, if you want to highlight some code or some type of text, if you want to achieve like this style, you have to use small tag. And as usual, strong we will use for the bold, or to raise the font weight we can use the standard Bootstrap class or tag strong. And next EM is this one is italicized text that we will use to achieve this kind of style. So let's copy this and paste it here, Ctrl Alt L, and then refresh our template. Yeah, I already refreshed. Alright, have you seen now we have different styles of paragraphs. Great, let's make heading for this as well. Under the container let's make h3, and I want to make the heading as inline text elements. Great, now this section is completed. Refresh. Okay, great. And here let's make one break so that it will be easier for us. Great. And collapse this section. So what's next? Inside the Bootstrap we finished inline, and then we will go for the abbreviations text utilities. Abbreviations, as we know, whenever we have something that we have to show the abbreviation, we can keep the mouse over that text, so automatically it will show the abbreviation of that. Have you seen now? Okay, let's do it. Copy these abbreviations as a heading or comment for us, and let's enter and create a new comment. And name the comment as abbreviations, and as usual let's create a different container for this, and then row and then column. Alright, now let's paste this one. Copy and paste it over here. Alright, and make sure the border was added, and make a break under this section. Let's refresh our template. Great, have you seen the abbreviations? When you keep your mouse over the ATTR, it is showing attribute, that is shorthand for attribute, and HTML is showing hypertext markup language. So we can create any abbreviation here, just you have to use abbreviate tag. This tag can be nested inside any tag. For example, you can use p tag or h tags, h1, h2, or any tag span or any kind of tags you can use, but it has to be nested inside your parent tag. Alright, so what's next? The next, when we are going to block quotes. What do you mean by block quotes? Let's have a look into this. Create a block quotes, and as usual create a different section for this. Block quotes, and create class container, and div class is equal to row, and then div class is equal to column, and pivot border. Alright, so here we are going to copy this code and then paste it here. Ctrl-Alt-L. Let's see. Great. Have you seen the style of this block quote is different than what we are rendering with p tags below? The sole purpose of using block quote is to highlight something. For instance, when you are designing blogs or when you are preparing e-textbooks, you want to mention one paragraph or one line as a reference or as a quote. So in such case, instead of using font weight, font width, font styles, that is takes a lot of time to design the style, so you can simply call the Bootstrap block quote class and you can define like this. Alright, great. So let's keep heading for these two sections. So we forgot the headings for these two blocks. Let's keep that. So earlier for abbreviations we have to create a heading under the container, that is h3, and I want to give headings as abbreviations. Alright, and collapse this section we already completed, and here for the block quotes I use h3 and give the headings as block quotes. Alright, so we completed now the block quote section as well. Let's refresh to check our headings are appealed. Alright, it's appealed very nicely. Great. What's next? Naming a source. As I said, naming source also it is similar to the block quotes. For instance, whenever you refer some code or some text from different textbook or different website or source or different author or writer, you can mention the author details or the textbook details on the below in this style. This one we can achieve simply by using a class called Blockquote footer and a Blockquote. Alright, so let's create a section for naming a source as well. Great. Let's create and make here break. Break is nothing but this command will create an extra line, that's it, an empty line. Alright, let's create a comment, and I'm using naming a source, and then div class is equal to container, and div class is equal to row, class is equal to column, and then paste the code here. Paste, Ctrl-Alt-L, and then refresh it. Have you seen why it's go out of our container section? Seems like we did something typo here. True. That's why it's go out of the container block. Alright, now I mentioned container. Let's refresh and check. Have you seen now? It's come exactly like the below blocks. Great. And mention the border here as well. Border, and then refresh. Alright, it's done. So let's make heading for this. Heading, we're giving the same heading as naming a source. Great. Done. This block has been completed. Let's use an empty line break and then go to the next section. Naming a source is done, and then alignment. It is almost similar to the naming a source. Alignment, instead of keep the alignment on the left, we can keep the alignment in the center. As I said, this section we can use when we are referring some text or some code from different author, different textbook in your assignments or blogs or e-textbooks. We can use this such style. So let's work on alignment as well. It's quite simple, right? Yes, Bootstrap is very easy. It's not much difficult. Just you have to import your styles in your header section and then start using as per the documentation or as per your requirements. Alright, let's make the same usual. As I said earlier, container, you can use different containers for a web page, or in production side most probably they will use single container, and inside the container you can use a number of rows for your different blocks. But for a better understanding, in this class I'm using multiple containers with divs and with rows and columns respectively. That we will discuss in production environment, how we are going to use the container provided container in upcoming sessions, because we are going to do some real-time websites. Alright, great. Let's copy this alignment section, copy and then paste here, Ctrl-Alt-L and make the border, and also try to make the heading, that is alignment. Alright, and make a break. Great, let's refresh. Oh, it's done. Have you seen the alignment? It's come in the center, it's aligned. Great, so let's move on. The alignment is done, and the same alignment we can keep on. Have you seen the first alignment has appeared on the left of the block, and the next one is the center of the block, and the next one is right of the block. So let's copy here. So instead of here creating a different container, let's create a different column. For example, here I'm going to create a different column. Inside the same row I'm creating different column in the border, and then paste here, Ctrl-Alt-L and refresh. Have you seen now? This appeared the center of the block, and this aligned the right side of the block. This is the one row. Inside the row we have two columns. This is column 1 and this is column 2. So no need to confuse here. So we use the call here and the call here. This is two columns. This is column and this is column. Or if you are the beginner, I know in the beginning it's a little messy, you can mention column 1 this one, and this one is column 2. It's quite easy to understand. Alright, so now the alignment part has been completed. So what's next? Let's move on to lists. As you know, lists, whenever you want to list out some content or some subsections, you can use lists. But here there are two types, styled and unstyled. What do you mean by styled and unstyled? Whenever you mention styled, that list will appear with bullet points, arrows and some numeric serials. But unstyled means it will not take any styles and it will appear simply in a common text. Alright, let's work on this section as well. Lists. Create a section for the lists, and then create a container. As usual, create row and then column, and make sure border, and copy the content here. Let's copy and paste. Ctrl-Alt-L to maintain the indent automatically, and let's make a break here, and let's create a heading for this section, that is lists. You can rename it as lists, style, and with style and without style, and without style. Alright, have you seen here list unstyled, stating that the below list which don't want to use any style. So that's why let's refresh this tag. Now let's refresh. Have you seen list style and without style? Have you seen the first section of the list doesn't have any style, no bullet points, no arrows, no numerics as well. That's the reason we mention list unstyled. And what about the nested list? See, inside the nested list we haven't mentioned any class here. Same UL and UL tag, we haven't mentioned any class here stating that don't use any style. That's why the nested list is appeared with beautifully with the styles, that is bullet points, white bullet points. So what will happen if you remove this list unstyled? So let's remove this class and refresh it. Have you seen now the bullet points, how nicely it's appeared? Great. This is the list and this is the nested list. That's why there is indent maintained here. Whenever you have a nested list, the indent is maintained in this way. Or we can create a nested list inside this again. We can simply mention UL and LI mention, say that one, or just simply you can mention anything. 2 and then 3. Let's refresh and check. Have you seen now how the styles has been changed? Initially there is a black bullet points and the first nested loop has white bullet points and the second nested one has a black squares. Great, right? So this is all is going to manage it by Bootstrap. Alright, so we covered the lists, it's done. Let's move on. What's next? The next is inline. The styles of the lists, we can make it inline as well. Have you seen here UL? We will always use UL tag to display the lists, and instead of displaying in row by row, it displayed in horizontally. So we can achieve that as well. So how we can do that inline? So though it is belongs to lists only, I don't want to create a different container for this. So simply I will create a different column. Div class is equal to col and border, and inside the border I want to mention this inline style. Let's copy and paste here. If you want to understand better, let's mention comment here stating that this is a column 1 and this is a column 2. Guys, this video is for the beginners, that's why I'm explaining each and everything, basic fundamentals as well. I know most probably some of them are already working on it and they're experts, so but please keep in mind about the beginners. That's why I mentioned here the comments for each and every section. Okay, alright, let's refresh. Have you seen now? I divided this row into 2 columns, 2 equal columns, and I mentioned here a nested lists and lists with style and without style, and this one here I mentioned as inline list. So why don't you make a heading for this? Alright, have you seen this heading? This is a high level heading for complete row, but inside row we have 2 columns, and for these columns we have to make heading. So inside here we can mention a heading stating that this is an inline list. So how it is going to appear? Let's refresh and check. Refresh. Have you seen now? We can make heading this as well. Great. Alright. Now we cover the lists section as well. Let's move on. What is next? I think yes, it's completed. Responsive font sizes, this all whenever you have time, just to have a look into this documentation that will let you understand much better about how these types are rendering from the Bootstrap. And one more point I want to mention here. Here, for every tag or every class which you are using on the front end from the Bootstrap toolkit as a styles. But those styles we are not mentioning because those all styles are mentioned in the Bootstrap toolkit. So how we are calling the Bootstrap toolkit or how we are using the Bootstrap styles? Just simply by calling the classes. The class is referring to the one or more properties of its styles. So for instance, we use class col, class border, class list inline theme. These all classes, these are referring to one or more CSS attributes which are from Bootstrap. Alright. Today we covered about typography in the Bootstrap. In upcoming sessions we are going to cover the remaining components of the Bootstrap. So as I said, typography is quite important for every website or any project, and it is used to create customized headings, inline subheadings, lists, paragraphs, aligning, adding more design oriented font styles and much more. Alright guys, that is for today's section, and please stay connected by subscribing to this channel. A lot of stuff coming ahead, and in our upcoming sessions we are going to cover the remaining components of the Bootstrap. Thank you for watching this video. Bye.